Whispers in the dark. Martha Collins stood at the end of the cracked driveway, her heart a mix of dread and nostalgia as she faced the once familiar, now decaying structure of her childhood home. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced wickedly across the yard, whispering secrets she'd long buried. For years, she had evaded the memories that this place held, the echoes of laughter now replaced by the dull thud of grief. "Mama, is this our new house?" Ethan's voice pulled her from her thoughts. The little boy, with his tousled brown hair and big, innocent eyes, seemed unaffected by the oppressive aura of the home. "Yes, sweetie, our new house." Martha forced a smile, but her gut twisted. This was not merely a home. It was a mausoleum of her mother's life, filled with the sense of past meals and wrapped in silences that felt almost deafening. Welcome to Story Echelon. Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of captivating stories filled with mystery, emotion, and adventure. Each tale is designed to ignite your imagination and keep you engaged from start to finish. As Ethan bounded up the steps, his small feet echoing against the wood, Martha stayed behind, clutching a box of his toys in one hand and her phone in the other, ready to call for help if needed. The house wasn't welcoming, and a chill ran down her spine, but she shook it off. They needed a new beginning. They had to make this place livable again. She followed Ethan inside and immediately felt the weight of the old house pressing down on her. The air was thick with dust and memories, a potent mix that stung her eyes and made her throat tighten. She set the box down and watched as Ethan ventured further into the dimly lit hallway, his voice barely above a whisper as he spoke to himself, enamored by the peeling wallpaper and the creaks of the floorboards. "Mama, look at this room," he called, excitement breaking the heavy silence. She followed him into what had once been her mother's sunroom, where light used to pour in through the wide windows. Now, the glass was clouded with grime, and the once vibrant flowers depicted in the wallpaper seemed to wither away. "Mama, can we fix this?" he asked, pulling at her sleeve. "Yes, we will," Martha promised, but the truth suffocated her. Could a new coat of paint really cleanse the walls of the memories of loss and despair? She approached the window and peered outside. The garden was overgrown and wild, much like her emotions. She took a deep breath and turned to Ethan. "Let's find some cleaning supplies." As she began to gather her thoughts and prepare for the daunting task, a faint sound echoed behind her, like a whisper caught in the wind. She turned sharply, her heart racing, but the room was empty, save for Ethan, absorbed in the remnants of a forgotten life. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Hear what, Mama?" Ethan looked up, his big eyes wide with curiosity, completely unfazed. "Nothing, just the house settling," she said, shaking her head, unwilling to admit her unease. As they began to clean, the shadows seemed to lengthen and waver in the corners of the room, a dark reminder of the past that lurked just beyond the thresholds, waiting to be awakened. That first night in the old house was fraught with tension. Martha had set up Ethan's room quickly, hoping to give him a sense of normalcy amid the chaos. She turned on the small bedside lamp, throwing comforting light around the room. As she tucked Ethan into bed, she kissed his forehead and sighed deeply, feeling the weight of the day settle in her bones. "Good night, Mama," Ethan mumbled, curling up under the covers. "Good night, sweetheart," she whispered back, switching off the light and closing his door just a crack. Martha made her way to her own room, a space that felt foreign. She stood by the window, overlooking the neglected yard, moonlight casting eerie patterns across the ground. She had expected nightmares, visions of Clara and the old life, but what she got instead was unsettling silence, a quiet that screamed for something sinister. As she prepared for bed, settling into the creaking mattress, she felt an odd sense of being watched. Martha brushed it off as remnants of anxiety from the move. Her eyes fluttered closed, battling sleep's embrace that in the dead of night. A soft whisper floated through the room, barely audible. "Martha!" She jolted awake, heart racing, and glanced around in the dim light. Only the shadows answered her, and she shook her head, convinced it was a figment of her imagination. Another whisper snaked through the air, this time clearer, resonating with a haunting sadness. "Martha, come to me." The voice was unmistakable, raising the hairs on her arms. It was her mother's voice. She bolted upright, her mind racing back to Clara. Her laughter, her warmth, the moments they had shared before the illness came and stole her away. Tears pricked at her eyes, and she clenched her fists in the bedspread. "Mom," she whispered, barely able to keep her voice steady. The room was quiet again, the calm after a storm that threatened to return. Martha glanced at the clock, 2:30 a.m. She needed to calm down, convince herself that it was only the house settling or her own mind playing tricks. But as she lay back down, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted in their new home, that the house, with its secrets and scars, was aware of their presence. The next morning dawned with a sense of foreboding that seeped into Martha's bones. Ethan was already up, sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, surrounded by his toys, blissfully unaware of the upheaval swirling around them. "Good morning, Mama," he beamed, his face lighting up like the morning sun. "Good morning, sweetheart," she replied, forcing a smile while her head felt heavy with unresolved questions. After breakfast, she decided it was time to excavate the attic to find items that could help familiarize Ethan with their new life. The attic was a time capsule of Clara's life, filled with dusty boxes and forgotten treasures. As Martha climbed the rickety stairs, sadness enveloped her. "Stay close, Ethan," she warned, wading through the dim space where sunlight broke through a small, dirty window. Ethan nodded, too eager to explore the relics of the past. His small feet scampered across the wooden floor, and his giggles were the only light in the murky shadows. Martha reached for a box labeled Martha's Childhood, and as she pried it open, a cloud of dust erupted into the air, forcing her to cough. Inside were trinkets from her youth, old toys, school projects, but beneath that there was something else. An old leather-bound journal, brittle and worn, caught her eye. She opened it carefully, the pages fragile, yet filled with her mother's elegant script. "Dear Martha," it began, "this life is woven with secrets." Martha's heart quickened as she read. The entry spoke of family secrets long kept hidden, of voices that emerged in the shadows. "They speak to me, the ones who came before, urging us to remember." "Mama, what's that?" Ethan interrupted, peeking over her shoulder. "It's just an old journal," she replied, trying to sound dismissive, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. She could sense disquieting energy radiating from the words on the pages. As she continued reading, a chill crept up her spine, a collection of experiences that mirrored her current encounters. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the far end of the attic, making them both jump. Martha dropped the journal, and it tumbled open, pages ruffling as though a draft had whipped through. She turned to Ethan, eyes wide. "Stay close to me." "Mama, what was that?" he whispered, clutching her arm tightly. "I don't know, buddy." "Let's check it out together," she reassured. But her heart was pounding as they approached the noise. Martha felt a presence lingering, a whisper of the past intertwining with their reality. In the corner, a large trunk lay overturned. She carefully approached it, her stomach nodding. The energy was thicker here. Ethan knelt beside her and pointed. "Look." They opened the trunk together, revealing dusty artifacts of the past. Old clothes, faded photographs, and a large, dusty doll that seemed eerily familiar. As Martha brushed the dust off, she was struck by a sense of recognition. The doll had belonged to her. But then, from behind them, a cold wind raced through the attic, sending papers fluttering from the desk, and the journal spilled open. The pages flipped violently, and without warning, a whisper emerged again, louder this time. "Martha, remember." Martha froze, goosebumps lining her arms. This was too much. Her mother's journal, the doll, and now the whisper. She needed to understand what her mother had concealed and why it clung so tightly to the walls of this house. "Ethan," she murmured, trembling, "we should leave here for a moment. I need to regroup." With the remnants of her childhood still swirling in the air, they stepped back into the light of the hallway, unaware they had only scratched the surface of the truths waiting to be unearthed. The following days blurred together, interspersed with moments of normalcy and growing unease. Martha attempted to redecorate, but the oppressive atmosphere lingered, manifesting in strange occurrences around the house. Objects misplacing themselves, cold spots in certain rooms, and the whispers that seemed to grow louder each night. Ethan appeared more attuned to the house's energy than Martha, often talking to shadows in the corners or pointing to unknown figures, laughing and playing as though old friends joined him. Martha felt her composure slipping as the house felt less like home and more like a prison point one night. As Martha lay awake, tossing and turning, a loud bang echoed from the hallway. She sat up, heart racing. "Ethan," she called, fear gripping her voice. Silence answered, heavy and thick. The whispers returned, curling around her thoughts, beckoning her into a realm she longed to avoid. "Martha, come to me," they were insistent. The night felt alive with anticipation. Just as she gathered the courage to leave her bed, she heard the soft patter of footsteps approaching. "Ethan," she whispered again, but received no response. Martha slipped from the bed and cautiously opened her bedroom door, peering into the darkened hallway. The shadows seemed to pulse with life, thick and ominous. And as she made her way toward Ethan's room, the whispers intensified. Suddenly, Ethan's door creaked open, and she blinked in surprise when she saw him standing there, eyes wide, staring at something beyond her. "Mama," he said quietly. "Come see." "See what?" she demanded, stepping toward him, panic gripping her heart. His little finger pointed toward the end of the hallway, where flickering light danced against the walls. Just as Martha approached, the light extinguished, leaving only darkness and the weight of the house pressing down on her. The whispers converged into a cacophony, ringing in her ears. "Mama!" Ethan cried, gripping her tightly. I saw her." "Who, sweetheart? Who did you see?" Martha was on high alert, her maternal instincts flaring. "The lady, she had the doll." Ethan's eyes brimmed with tears, a mixture of fear and frustration. "She said to come play." "What lady?" Martha felt a surreal tension enveloping them, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. "The one in the attic," Ethan said, voice small. "She wanted to be my friend." Martha's chest tightened as pieces began to fall together. The whispers, the doll, and now the mention of a lady who seemed to haunt their new home. "Ethan, we need to get out of here right now," she said, searching for clarity in the chaos. "But I don't want to leave," he protested, face alight with confusion and determination. "She was nice, Mama. She talked to me. Mama." Ethan's voice rang out, breaking her thoughts. "Can we go back to the attic? I want to see the lady again." "No, Ethan, I mean it," Martha snapped, feeling the growing desperation creep in. Memories of her mother's stories flooded her mind, tales woven with dread about their family's past. That night, Martha could barely close her eyes, her mind racing with fear and racing thoughts. The whispers turned into a haunting melody, entwining themselves around her consciousness, slithering into her dreams. Desperate to silence the intrusion, she clutched Ethan, who slept peacefully without a hint of darkness encroaching his dreams. At dawn, she stormed to the attic, gripping the journal tightly. She had to confront the legacy that suffocated her. As she climbed the stairs, the wooden steps creaked ominously beneath her weight, a warning of what lay ahead. With determined breaths, she opened the trunk again and rummaged through it, desperate for answers. "What are you hiding?" she whispered to herself. She felt an angry shiver pass through the air, a warning to turn back. But she pressed on. Fingers trembling, she opened the journal again and flipped through the pages. Her mother's words seemed to resonate in the air, and as she read, she found the passages that spoke of her mother's friends, spirits from their ancestral lineage who lingered in the shadows, searching for resolution. Clara had been haunted, hiding the truth of their family's curse and the connections that bound them to the house. And then she found it, a warning. Beware the shadows that whisper promises. They deceive the innocent. We are tethered to this house through our sins, gripping tightly to our unresolved pasts. The voice of her mother echoed in her thoughts, urging her to understand what had been concealed. There were those who lingered due to unacknowledged secrets and hidden truths. Some had sought revenge, others redemption, but all were searching for something, closure. Thanks for staying with me on this journey. I hope you're enjoying the story so far. If you haven't already, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Storyetional. Your support helps bring more of these stories to life and keeps our storytelling adventure alive. Now, let's continue with the rest of the story. I promise there's more excitement waiting ahead. Mama, Ethan's voice called from the bottom of the stairwell, piercing through her revelations. Where are you? I'm coming, Martha shouted, her heart dancing with nerves. She descended the stairs and found him standing there, holding the doll tightly to his chest. I think she's sad, Ethan said, face somber as though he felt the weight of the doll's history, that a warmth enveloped Martha's heart, but it mingled with fear. What do you mean? She asked, kneeling before him. The lady showed me, he said softly, placing the doll in her hands. She needs us to help her find peace. Martha took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. Ethan's innocence radiated hope, but she knew the risk they were taking. Fine, she said, moving up the attic stairs again with renewed purpose. But we do it together. With Ethan beside her, they filled the attic with unwavering hope, seeking the spirit's presence. As they chanted incantations from the journal, the atmosphere shifted. It thickened and stirred with energy. The whispers grew into a violent wind, swirling around them as they felt a presence rapaciously advance. Who disturbs my rest? A voice thundered, a mixture of sorrow and wrath. The shadows swirled chaotically, manifesting into a figure, a pale woman whose face mirrored Clara's, yet her eyes were void and cold. I'm here to help you, Martha shouted, trembling but nonetheless resolute. The figure flickered, a manifestation of despair. Help? You seek to release me? You do not know what binds me here. I do, Martha cried, clenching the doll tighter. You are part of my family. We want to help you, but I need you to trust me. I know about the pain, the secrets. As realization pressed down upon Martha, the whispers transformed into screams, echoing through the walls. Shadows surged, a whirlwind of energy threatening to tear at their very existence. But at that moment, she understood. She had to confront the truth lying beneath the surface. Mama! Ethan called, tears streaming down his face. Listen, Martha screamed, facing the malevolent force. This cycle ends with us. We refuse to carry your pain anymore. The woman's face slackened, revealing an expression of anguish. You think you can change this? This house was built upon grief. We are forever entwined. Ethan stepped forward, clutching Martha's leg. We'll change it. I can be your friend. In that precious moment, a flicker of hope ignited within the figure. Friendship binds souls, dear child. But remember, to forget is not an option. You must forgive the past. Martha closed her eyes, hearing her mother's voice intermingled with Ethan's. They were stronger together, and she couldn't let fear dictate her life. We forgive you, she shouted, for all your pain, for all that binds us to this old house. We will break the chains of grief. As the words escaped her lips, light pierced through the shadowy barriers, igniting separation between them. The storm twisted and spiraled, the whispers transforming into harmonious cries, a thank you that echoed through the quieted space. The figure began to dissipate like a mist, and a gentle warmth spread across the room. Martha, the voice whispered, softer now, filled with love and understanding. For the first time, the shadows began to settle, releasing their hold as echoes of mere memories floated away on the breeze. And as the figure faded, the doll dropped from Martha's hands, landing softly in Ethan's waiting grasp. Did we do it, Mama? He asked, eyes shining bright. Yes, my love. We did it, Martha breathed, enveloping him in her arms. They turned together, feeling the weight of the house lessen just slightly as they stepped into the light. The new beginning they both longed for. Martha and Ethan stood in the attic, the last vestiges of shadow swirling around them before dissipating into the morning light. The air felt lighter, almost cleansing, as though the house itself was exhaling a breath it had held for lifetimes. They looked at each other, the bond between them deepened by the confrontation they had just faced. The days that followed were transformative. Martha began to see her childhood home in a new light. The peeling wallpaper seemed less like a reminder of decay and more like a canvas of history. With each stroke of paint and every piece of furniture they rearranged, she began to weave new memories into the fabric of the house, a place that would hold laughter instead of sorrow. Ethan thrived amidst the renewed energy. He played in the sunlight-filled rooms, laughter echoing off the walls as he filled the spaces with his youthful exuberance. The whispers that had once wormed their way into his nights transformed into soft, reassuring sounds, like the house was thanking them for their bravery, for acknowledging the past and moving forward. Though Clara's spirit had found peace, Martha felt her presence always near, encouraging her, guiding her through the complexities of motherhood and healing. One quiet evening, while tucking Ethan into bed, he whispered, "I miss the lady sometimes, Mama, but I don't think she's sad anymore. Thanks for staying with me on this journey." I hope you're enjoying the story so far. If you haven't already, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Storyational. Your support helps bring more of these stories to life and keeps our storytelling adventure alive. Now, let's continue with the rest of the story. I promise, there's more excitement waiting ahead. With a tender smile, Martha replied, "She'll always be a part of us, sweetheart. We helped her find rest, and now she watches over us." Over time, they became part of the community once more, reaching out to neighbors and making friends. Martha found solace in the new relationships she built, her heart slowly mending with each shared moment and each connection made. The garden, once wild and forsaken, transformed under her nurturing hand. It bloomed into a vibrant sanctuary of color and life. Yet, the house still held its secrets. Whispers of its past lingered like ghosts of forgotten tales. And Martha began to document her journey in a new journal, pouring her thoughts and feelings onto the pages. The soft, candlelit glow of the attic became her sanctuary for reflection, where memories wove together, illuminating joys and sorrows alike. It was a tribute to both her mother and her own resilience. But there were still fragments of the family's history waiting to be uncovered. One late autumn afternoon, while organizing old photographs, Martha discovered an envelope tucked away inside a dusty box. It was filled with letters, stories of her ancestors, tales of struggles and triumphs, all retold in her mother's familiar handwriting. Each letter felt like a piece of a puzzle, and as she read, a sense of purpose kindled within her. "I want to share this," she thought. The stories didn't belong solely to her. They were meant to be passed on, a legacy of love and courage. With renewed vigor, Martha began to breathe life into these narratives, envisioning gatherings where neighbors would share their own stories, fostering a sense of community and belonging that as the seasons changed, the whispers of the house transformed from eerie echoes to a comforting lullaby, a reminder of where they had come from and how far they had traveled. Martha and Ethan found joy not just in each other, but in the very walls that had once held them captive. Their home became a place of unity, steeped in love, memory, and the echoes of the past that had finally come to Rest Point one night. As they prepared to sleep, the wind howled gently outside, rustling the leaves like laughter. As Martha closed her eyes, she felt Clara's presence just as she often did, a soft warmth enveloping her, a lingering kiss upon her cheek. She knew her mother was at peace, proud of the legacy they had built, and hopeful for the future. "Mama," Ethan's voice broke through the stillness. "Yes, sweetheart," she replied, her heart full. "Do you think we can make the garden bloom again next spring?" Martha smiled, a glimmer of hope sparkling in her eyes. "Absolutely, my love. We will watch it flourish, just like us." And as the moon bathed their room in soft light, Martha drifted into sleep, embracing the warmth of the past while welcoming the promise of tomorrows yet to come. Thus, the mortifying echoes of their home transformed into a nurturing environment, one where history and healing intertwined, creating a new beginning born from resilience and love. Thank you for listening to this story on Storyational. I hope it left you inspired, entertained, or simply lost in a world of imagination. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories. Stay tuned for our next adventure. Until then, take care and keep the love for stories alive.